Hi everybody, it's me again, hoping that you're doing well and working on the pieces to your puzzle. This one's going to talk about social distance, and as I've pondered this situation, I'm struggling with it. And here are my struggles, or some of the things I think about. And I want you guys to think about, and you make your own choices accordingly, govern yourself as you need to, etc. But these are definitely some things you should be thinking about if you've not already. Social distancing wears at the human bonds. When you're to a point where you have to maintain such a distance of 6 feet, that means in order to even communicate with the person in front of you, behind you, to the side, or wherever, you've got to talk in a voice, in an outside voice. You got to almost yell. And then if you got the mask over your face, you definitely have to yell. So that means you're not treating that person as a human. You're yelling at them, and the human bond or the connect, the energetic transfer can't take place, or it's more difficult to take place when you've got that much distance between y'all. It makes us more impersonal, and you're kind of isolated. I mean, it's just looking at this line here, and I could have gotten a picture of a line at Walmart or one of the other stores or something, but you'd see a line of maybe 50 people, and they're all 6 feet apart from each other, all down the block and around the corner. I did pass one grocery store, the line was literally around the corner. Nobody's talking to anybody. Everybody's focused on their phones. Is that how we want to be? Do we want to isolate ourselves from the human a couple feet in front of us? But social distancing also reduces our ability to talk, as I just discussed. It reduces our ability to combine thoughts, to have just general conversation about the weather, about the birds, about the news, about, life, whatever it is, just the small talk that we make when we're standing in line or when we're out and about and just doing our day-to-day. It reduces our ability to compare ideas, to definitely compare thoughts on this whole situation. Maybe if we needed to strategize about something, it reduces our ability to do that. For example, if you wanted to wage an anti-campaign against all of this, how do you do it if you can't be close enough to have a normal or private conversation with someone? But then again, if you wanted to strategize about building a business, how do you do it when you can't be close enough to have a private conversation with someone? So that really hinders your ability to do some positive things, whether it's starting a business, whether it's waging an anti-campaign, whether it's, talking about the swimming pool that got closed down, or, anything on the news, whatever it is, it's reducing your ability to communicate with each other. And when we stop communicating, we stop feeling for each other. We stop having those human bonds, and then we stop seeing each other as humans. And then we start treating people like crap, even more so than we already do. Here's another thought. When two or more devices are together and they're not on the same frequency, the same wavelength, signals get corrupt. They go bad. Y'all remember the old radars the police used to have in their cars way, way, way back when? And if you were positioned near an 18-wheeler with a CB radio or some other device along those lines, it could scramble the signal to where he could not actually identify which car was doing the speeding. He'll see a speed, but he can't identify which one. Stuff like that. Or what about the first wireless phones we had, cordless phones we had way back when? If you had two different cordless phone sets in the same vicinity, those signals got scrambled and they didn't work. So here's a thought. Suppose if people were to have some sort of electronic receiver inside them, on them in some kind of way, and there was an effort to either send information to that receiver or retrieve information from that receiver. If too many of them are too close together, will the signals get through effectively? I don't know. It's just a thought, though. You're too close to someone who has another receiver or transceiver, receiver, excuse me. Signals may not get through. And then I see the social distancing thing as just another mandate to see that people will blindly follow it. And people are not asking questions. They're not saying, okay, how does this help? How does it help the situation? And if they do ask and they're given a response, they take it as it's true. Did they verify it? Does it make sense? Is it real? And then, okay, initially, okay, yeah, we'll roll with it. It makes sense. But as more and more information comes out, does it still make sense to continue doing so? So we have all of these impacts up here, 1 through 4 I already talked about. And if it no longer makes sense to continue doing it, why are you going to continue to let all these negative impacts, or potentially negative impacts, continue on without addressing the fact that this may not be the best move? Oh, and I forgot about prayer and worship. Yeah, I did put it up there. Yeah, this social distancing, you had the preacher went to jail for having church service. Another preacher, they got him for having drive-through church. People, my question here is, if this thing is airborne and remains on surfaces for all these extended periods of time that they done told us, it's on plastic for how long, on paper cartons and stuff that, Amazon or post office delivered to your house, if it can remain on all these surfaces for all these extended periods of time, even so to the point that we have to shut the schools down and keep them down, how does social distancing improve the matter? If this thing remains on all these surfaces the way they do, the way they say, etc., I don't see how social distancing can be effective at reducing it at such large numbers the way it's being made to seem. That's just me. I'm open for correction, but it just seems to me a high price to pay when you're losing your humanness or your bonds with other people as humans, when you're becoming impersonal, when you're becoming isolated. You're focused more into your tech gadget than you are the person standing in line. Usually you stand in line and you have basic conversation. Sometimes you see those people again, y'all exchange numbers, and he might be a tree cutter and you need your tree in your yard cut, so y'all exchange numbers, so you got a business service going on there. Sometimes it's a matter of, hey, we've got such and such event going on with my group, we'd like to invite you out, whether it's a church, whether it's a play, whether it's a parade, anything. But we're not doing that anymore. We can't do that anymore because we're all social distance, isolated away from each other. What about social distancing in the home? How is that regulated? So people in the home are supposed to go inside the home and stay 6 feet away from each other? Causing more people to isolate, even within the families. I tell y'all, I'm just tripping at some things that are left, that are allowed to go on without being questioned the way it should be.